even though I don't live in Portland, I live where the water is filtered. Kind of the light bulb went off, and I was like, well, let's tell this story. Let's show the story of the water from beginning to end. And I think as we kind of dove into that, we started to understand that there were many more layers to it. And I'm really excited to share that through writing and photography.
See the E. coli will fluoresce.
Awesome, thank you.
You know, we turn on the tap, clean water comes out. We don't really have to think about it.
We can't have one bad day. If we go 100 years and we never have a problem, and then we have a big problem where there's no water or the water's unsafe to drink, even for a day, you would never forget that day.
I hadn't really paused to think hard about where my water came from and really think about how lucky we are to have this natural system in place. I've been looking for ways to use my writing and my art as a way to meet the environmental moment that we're in, connecting people back to themselves and to place and to each other. And this is a really big opportunity to connect myself to this place and to share that with other people.
Absolutely. I think so much of the work we've done, it's or our style in general, is more than just a phone call and an interview and a portrait shoot. It's immersing ourselves in their life or into the water system. It's experience-based learning for us and experience-based research. And to be able to do this, it's where everything kind of meets right in that place.
I'm just so excited to be in that space. There's no way to get to these spaces other than whitewater kayaking.
For me, it's about kind of getting back home. I grew up in the Bethel area, and I haven't gone to explore nearly as much as I want. River tripping, especially living out of a kayak, is so special.
Everything's come together so naturally and so beautifully, and everybody is so passionate about this story and the watershed, and it's so cool to find people that want to help tell that story.
We're on the north shore of Songo Pond at the north end of the Crooked River watershed. It's not one of the major lakes in Maine in some ways, but what looks to be unremarkable actually can be remarkable. We're able to look back many years from now, hopefully, and say, gosh, I'm really glad that we were keeping an eye on the big picture. We'll find places for our subdivisions, our housing that we all need. Let's find those other places where we connect the landscape for all these other purposes.
We started in Bethel yesterday at Songo Pond. It started very thick, a lot of brush, a lot of strainers. I think we were all at one point walking our kayaks waist deep, chest deep in water,
through the
camera
trees.
up high. But we got a really good taste of, what that first section is like, and knowing that the water starts there and goes to Portland. Just to gain this special awareness that you can't do without being on the river. We were as immersed in this water system as possible, which I thought was really special.
Yeah, me too. It rained all afternoon, and so we just got to really actually feel it. Yeah, that was really special. Parts of it were like paddling through a cathedral. Glassy and quiet, and the rain was falling. It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
So we're now standing on a portion of basically 1,000 acres of protected lands, contiguous except that there's a road, 117, that runs between them. And that is a very wonderful thing to have that quantity, that acreage of land protected in basically southern Maine. The importance of being on the Crooked, and I'm sure you've been talking about this a lot, is it's the most significant of the tributaries into Sebago Lake, provides 39% of the surface water for Sebago Lake, which is the drinking water reservoir for 1/6 of Maine, for Portland, Maine.
We've been thinking about that a lot on this trip, just how everything is connected, everyone is connected. We're picking up some paddlers at Twin Bridges.
Right there.
Wabanaki people, we are river and woodland tribes. It's not just DNA, right? When you grow up in an environment and you have a relationship with it over time, it just sort of becomes part of you. How can I convince Wenooch people and others, Wenooch just means non-Indigenous people, that protecting these spaces is not simply a good idea, that a river is not simply a view, that it has a deeply ingrained function in a total ecosystem that keeps everything alive. And a lot of people don't get that. They're more concerned, for example, about like their property, their riverfront property. But what value is it if you have a home next to a dead ecosystem? So think of the waters as something alive that supports something larger and something larger until we have this incredible whole, which we call our home.
Why did you choose Eats Falls Dam? Yeah. Why did you choose this spot to meet?
This drains into Sebago Lake. In Sebago Lake, the Watershed is one of the original 4 indigenous populations of landlocked salmon in the state of Maine. This dam was built in the late 1700s, and ever since then, the salmon have not had access to the entire river system, which is about 62 miles long. And so what happened when the lake got popular, got overfished, and this small amount of spawning habitat that's below here could not sustain the fishery. So the lake went from a completely wild fishery to a stocked fishery. And it's been a long time trying to bring that fishery back. 3 biologists before me did a lot of work trying to open this system up. So this dam was breached in 1972. So to give you an idea, prior to when I started, this used to produce about 20% wild fish in the lake fishery. In the last 10 years, we've been about 75 to 80% wild. It didn't happen overnight. A lot of people have worked very hard for a long time. It's amazing what has occurred here. This is a true success story.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you. It's so good to see you. That last bit was
Good to be here. Another big
strainery.
day.
We had a lot to do.
Yeah.
Everything from Eats Falls down was pretty
It
hard.
was all good until it wasn't. And then it was good again, and then it wasn't.
Woo! Here we are. That like that dock looks like a good kitchen area.
As my wife always says, hunger is the best spice during a river trip, which tomorrow will be a lake trip.
Yeah.
And then it will become a river trip again.
My name is Rod Bollier. I'm the Chief of Security Operations for the Portland Water District.
Okay, and security, what does that mean for the Portland Water District in this context?
Well, in this context, it's about lake protection. We have 2 restriction zones on the lake. We have the 2-mile limit, which inside the 2-mile limit, there is no bodily contact of any time for water quality purposes. And then inside the 2-mile limit, we have a 3,000-foot no trespassing zone, which is also the location of our raw water intakes.
Sebago Lake is so clean and clear that we actually have a waiver to filtration from the EPA. There's about 13,000 surface water supplies in the country, and only 50 of those have a waiver like this, and we're one of those. The watershed right now is about 84% forested. Once we get down to 76% forest, in the watershed, we could see changes in the water quality of the lake. So that's why it's so important to keep the forests as forests.
The trees, they're absorbing the energy that that droplet has. If you remove all the trees, then that water droplet would go all the way down and hit the soil and break it apart, and soil would wash into a stream, which would eventually reach the lake, which is what we don't want. The estimate we've gotten is that to build filtration here would cost $150 million, and that's just to build the facility. Then you'd have to operate it, which means a couple $1 million every year in power, chemicals, staffing. Let's keep it like this, and then it costs less, we drink fewer chemicals, and the recreation, the fishing is better. So it's sort of like it's a no-regret strategy to keep the lake as it is.
So this is an actual water sample from, no, this isn't.
These are all QC.
It's like this is like a finished water sample. There's just nothing in there.
When you're providing drinking water to 200,000 people every day, you have to test it early, middle, late, all day long. Our data is kind of boring. That's success, but that doesn't mean we can ever stop being diligent.
I personally feel like everyone should tour a water treatment plant, but it's really important to understand what has to happen to provide that water to us.
So I'll walk you from our raw water pump station, where we take the water directly from the lake and treat it with ozone, UV, and send it off to the masses. Each one of these pumps is capable of about 18 million gallons per day. Ozone is a disinfectant, creates a physical reaction with any organic matter, effectively destroying the organism. This is a shot of our UV reactor that's on right now. Each one of these is a light tube that runs across the UV reactor. The easiest way to have clean water is to start with clean water.
Sebago Clean Waters is a collaborative of 11 organizations working together to protect the water quality in Sebago Lake. It really started way back in 2000 when Portland Water District became interested in the work that some of our local land trust partners are doing in the watershed to conserve forest land. Over time, more and more partners came together and said, hey, you know, we could probably pool our resources and increase the pace of land conservation. Let's work together.
Water is critical to delicious beer, and having access to clean water is so important. Sebago Water provides Allagash with our water source, along with 200,000 Mainers, and having that clean water and making sure that's protected is extremely important to all of us here at Allagash. So we donate 10 cents from every barrel of beer brewed to Sebago Clean Waters Coalition to ensure that that water is protected.
Hi everyone! We're at the mouth of Casco Bay. We're the place where the Presumpscot meets the ocean. And we wanted to show you the amazing crew of paddlers we have. We'll see you all at Mackworth soon.
Mackworth is really special. Over on that side of the island is one of the healthiest eelgrass beds that you'll see in Casco Bay. Eelgrass is known as the rainforest of the marine environment. The eelgrass likes clear water. It likes just the right amount of nitrogen. The Casco Bay watershed starts in Bethel. What happens in Bethel, believe it or not, it does eventually end up in the bay. Ocean is life. We are only here because the ocean supports us. And so I think it's incumbent upon humanity to make sure that it's protected, it's restored, it's conserved.
At first, it was about clean drinking water, until Sebago Lake. We had the filtration system in the Crooked. We had Sebago Lake. We had followed the Portland Water District and through everything that our water goes through to end up here. But then it became this story of connection, just like this story of understanding how everything is connected and how everything upstream really deeply matters to what happens downstream.
We started in Bethel, and now
Yeah. Wow. Now we're in the ocean. Where's Alex? Alex!
Made it.
We did it. What a crew. I can't think of a better group of people
Totally.
to do this with.